I've got this little bag I got. I actually got like a cord management bag or whatever off Amazon.
I know. I haven't seen it.
I'll have to show it to you. I got it outside here with the other gear. Um, it's awesome. It's the best thing I
Because I'm
bought in a
just
long
using like a
time.
little drawstring backpack.
Yeah, I was using like a duffel bag thing, like a
Yeah.
black duffel bag. This is so much better. It's better than hard cases. I've used hard cases in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks to carry. This thing's amazing. It's got like a shoulder strap. It's
Hmm.
got little dividers.
Yeah.
And then I've got like my IR2 for my backup thrown in there, extra cables, extra power supplies, extra picks. I can throw my slides, my tuners. It's got like little individual pockets for it.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah, you need, and it's not that expensive. It's
How
like
much?
30 or 40 bucks.
That's not bad. That's worth it.
Yeah. It saved me a lot of trips because then I'm able to put basically everything in there. It's got a spot for an iPad or a laptop. It's got, I mean, all
Okay.
kinds of stuff. It's a game changer. I'll show you after this.
Okay.
But let's get this thing started. Hey guys, welcome to Tone Bros. My name's Casey.
And I'm Colin. We're going to get started with our current topic of the day, which has to do with the Billy strings. They finally did it.
They finally done it.
Yeah, we're here now.
Thank you.
Martin Guitars did a Billy Strings signature guitar. It only took about,
Too long.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
at
Too
least
long.
5 years.
So yeah, they put this Billy String signature. They actually put two out.
Yes.
We're talking about the more expensive kind of D28 style one right now, but a lot of this stuff goes on for that lower end one too.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's very similar to a standard D28. So when they revamped, we had an episode a while back where the current topic was about the new Martin standard line.
Right.
We talked about how it had the GE bracing, had all that type of stuff, golden era bracing, and they've made a bunch of changes. So this has all of that stuff,
Okay.
but they changed a couple things. So it's got enclosed Grover tuners.
Okay.
Big deal, right?
Sure.
I mean, whatever. But the nut is, so in pre-war era stuff, it was like, so Martin basically has two different nut widths is what I'm going to get to.
Okay.
They had a little bit thinner one and a little bit wider nut. This one is right between the two. It's 1.72 inches width. So it's kind of between the two. So it's not as wide as some of those wide Martin ones, but also not so narrow where you feel like your fingers are kind of tight. And then he shortened the scale length down. Not as short as some scale lengths are. So Martin, once again, has had longer or shorter scale lengths at different times. This is right smack dab in the middle.
Okay.
So his thought was with it kind of lowers string tension for his crazy bending stuff he does. And it's not so much that it's like out of spec for Martin. It would still kind of fall in spec. It's just one they've never done before.
Okay.
So this guitar comes in at $3,800. So pretty pricey.
I was about to say that's more
Um,
money than I want to spend.
the standard D28 though now is $33.
So it's $500 difference.
$500 difference. You're getting a shorter scale length and you're getting like a medium kind of size nut. But you got to think they got to retool all their machines. They've got to change all that stuff just to do that little bit. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a ton of stuff, but it is a big difference.
Yeah. I bet it does play quite a bit different with that shorter scaling.
I would really be interested in playing one. I've not got to touch one yet. I can't wait to see one in the store
Yeah.
to get my hands on it. The lower end one, he said he wanted to put out something that like all players could touch and get a hold of. That's why he put out, he didn't want to have something that was $20,000.
Right.
Mad respect to you, Billy.
Yeah. Honestly.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
you're-
getting this into players' hands.
Yeah. One of the few.
One of the few that seems to be doing that these days. So he wanted to have this one. Yes, this is something you could work towards, and he even said like you can cut lawns and save up and get this one.
He's right.
The other one is I don't remember the price right offhand. I think it's like $1,800 ish, something
Okay.
like that. So it's still kind of pricey, but nothing like the other one is. It's a laminate back, I think, but it still has the same scale length and still has the same nut width. So they still had to retool it for all that type of
Right.
stuff. And he said he wanted to make sure that the lower end model at least felt the exact same and everything, even if it wasn't solid woods and stuff.
That's cool. You know what? I'm a huge proponent of GS Minis, and they got laminate backs.
Yeah.
And I love those guitars. So I'm not totally against that.
I'm not totally against it either. I bet it sounds great for what it is. But yeah, I mean, Billy, he's doing it right, man.
I love the guy. He actually seems like a genuine guy, too.
Yep, I do too. I feel the exact same way about Billy. I'm very interested in D28, so this is kind of on my radar of checking out.
Right.
Really like to play it next to the standard.
And you know what? If there is like a feel difference, it probably is worth the 500.
It might very well be.
You know what I mean?
And spacing. Like the spacing.
String
of the strings,
spacing, yeah.
Such a big deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to play a big part of it too. I'm very happy that Martin done it. I know, like live, he uses that Thompson guitar that's got the 3-way switch where he can change like the pickups and do all that wild stuff. But I think this is more, it's supposed to be more akin. He's got I think it's a 43 or 44 D28 that's like his pride and joy. That of course he's not going to drill a hole in the top and do stuff like that.
Right.
But I think it's kind of modeled similar to that. I think the neck carve and all that stuff is very similar to that.
Okay.
So that's exciting. I think that Billy has been, him and Molly Tuttle and a few people like that has really brought this kind of bluegrass, like acoustic guitar,
folk
back,
bluegrass.
kind of back into the front of today's musicians. And I can do nothing but applaud both of them. They're both incredible musicians.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is amazing for the music. And this guitar is just another one on the list of amazing guitars that came out. And another reason why I like Billy Strings.
Yeah. You know who's the next one?
Molly Tuttle.
Well, besides her.
Who?
I would love to see a Vince Gill Martin.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see that too.
That would be cool.
He would probably pick something like an odd, because Vince is so, he's got such a collector mindset with things too.
Yeah.
He might pick some like a 45, or he might pick something that maybe a slot head Martin or something
that's true.
different.
Yeah. He might bring something back.
The acoustic I'd like to see, signature. Molly Tuttle I'd love.
That would be cool.
I'd love to see a Brian Sutton.
Oh, man.
I'd love to see Brian Sutton come out the signature Martin.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. So, and his might be a 000 or something like that, but he's got a D28 that he just loves. And, of course, he's got D18s. He's got a little bit of everything because that's what he does.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see a Brian Sutton signature model come out. We talked about our 5-year plan, acoustics being the last part of it, but boy, these acoustics have been hearkening to me recently.
I was about to say, sounds like you need to check out this guitar.
Yeah, I definitely need to check it out. So, we've all done it, folks. We've all made the mistake. And years later, after buying something, we've regretted it. What's the gear that you regret buying or have regretted buying?
Oh, gear I've regretted buying. I've been fortunate where I haven't made a whole lot of missteps. And a lot, you've made a lot. The reason why I say that is because I'm cheap and I'm frugal and I don't spend my money unless I research it to death. Like,
yeah,
I research it to death. Regret buying. I mean,
I can start if you want.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to start. I'm going to have to think about it.
Yeah, so, of course, we've got guitars that we end up offloading, amps we end up offloading that we...
This might take a while, folks. Get your popcorn.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get super specific on that type of stuff or on, like, specific pedals. I'll tell you what I regret buying, probably more than just about anything, though. I regret trying to shine and polish a turd. That's what I regret buying the most.
Yeah.
I regret taking these guitars that were kind of meh and
It's kind of like everybody says when you start dating somebody and you're just trying to change them.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's like.
He just needs a little bit of work. I'm going to change him a little bit.
Yeah.
I regret taking these guitars and changing machine heads and changing tailpieces and changing pickups and all the electronics in them. And then, like, doing these crazy things to these guitars.
I might like it if I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taking them to something that I clearly don't like or don't get inspiration from and trying to turn it into something I do. Because it never works, guys. It never works. If you've got a guitar you love and there's just, like, one little thing that nags you or bothers you about it, it's completely different. When you're taking a guitar that you're just like, it's okay. Dump it.
Yeah.
Dump it. You're never going to get there with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've spent, so much, and you don't get money back on that. You don't get money back on changing machine heads and tailpieces and pickups. You don't get that money back. Once you lose that, it's gone. If you buy an amp or a guitar and you don't change anything to it and you end up regretting buying it and wanting to sell it off later, if you bought it used, you're probably going to get pretty close to what you gave for it.
Right.
You know, but yeah, when you're dumping a bunch of money into like a guitar, I mean, there's been times I've put, a solid $1,000 into a guitar that I didn't like.
And it's still not good.
And when I get done, I just still don't like it, and it still sucks.
Sorry, I'm laughing. And you know what? There's probably guys, you're probably out there and you're like, I'm him. But I just think it's so funny because I
learned my lesson. I learned my lesson, folks. Okay, I learned my lesson. But that's what I regret.
It only took him 25 years to get there.
Gosh dang. Yeah, 25 years of modding guitars and working on them until I'm like, you know what? If it's not right the first time, or really close, probably should let it go. I'm not talking about fretwork. I'm not talking about like one little goofy thing. You guys know what I mean. Is there anything you regret buying?
I feel pretty good about myself after listening to you. And like, you have to know, he's dropped, I think in the past 5 years, you've sold 8 guitars?
8 guitars.
He's went through his trouble era, okay? Now he's in the fun times.
Well, I was just like accumulating gear too. And I had that weird point where I had like some nice guitars I really liked and had guitars that were just sitting in cases and like I was never going to touch again.
Right.
That I put all this money into. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So never going to get it out of them.
Yeah. Things that you regret buying. I mean, I bought a Vox Wah one time, and I regretted that.
Gosh, I hate you. I love that his thing is like, yeah, I bought this one pedal one time, and I didn't like it. It's like,
I told you, I research everything. And honestly, I'm trying to think like, so I will say another pedal that I regret buying. And no disrespect, I love pedal, but I bought the Church of Tone, and I'm just not a fan. Yeah. Like, it's almost has to always be on. So, it was just a misconception. There's another. Okay. Pedals.
Cool.
But as far as amps,
you got
guitars,
$180 worth of regret.
As far as amps and guitars, like, I've done pretty good.
Yeah, I don't feel like amps I've done too bad on. Of course, there's pedals I regret.
You've bought some amps that were not ideal.
Yep. I've been through... Yeah, actually, I have been through quite a few amps.
Yeah.
There was a time where there was rack gear. Remember that?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, there was a time there was rack gear. I regret that at this point. Yeah, so there's quite a bit I regret buying. Yeah. But I think the number one thing, and probably something for you guys to take home to you, I mean, tell me what you guys regret buying, but I got a feeling most of you guys are going to be kind of in the same boat as me. Anytime you really invest a bunch of money... No, invest a bunch of money into a guitar. You never know you're going to get... You know that you're never going to get it out of it.
Right.
If you buy used rack gear, at least you can sell it for similar prices. You want to move to your gas or pass?
Yeah. Okay. Let's get on a better topic here. Gas or pass is kind of... This one is related to Bad Cat. Okay. NAMM has happened. They've been trying to release this amp for a year. Okay. Yep. They've talked about this amp for a year. Do you know what I'm about to say? The Rubicon.
Yep.
So this Rubicon, it's got 2 channels and then there's like a gain switch or something on it. But Bad Cat makes great amps. They sound fantastic. This Rubicon's like $1,300 and it's got a DI out.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the 2 notes in it. It sounds fantastic. Now the second channel's a little too high gain for me. But honestly, I'd ride the first channel all day.
Yeah.
With a little crunch on it. And it sounds great.
Yep.
And you could DI it.
Yep.
I think I would prefer this over the Rev. I want to say D20, where it sounds like a deluxe. I would rather have this Rubicon.
Yeah, that's where we're different. I'd rather have the D20.
But like, is this a gas or pass for you?
It's a pass.
That was quick.
Yeah.
So you have no interest.
Yeah. No, I've got some interest in it. I'd like to play it. But like you just said, I think I probably fall more on like, there's a few other things like the D20 and stuff that I would probably be a little more interested in. Like if I was going to go down that route.
A Friedman
right
Runt?
Now, yeah, maybe a Runt, something like that. There's different things I would look into.
I like the Friedman Runt. It's fine. But I think this is more up my alley.
I think it is too. And that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You know how we're like so similar on tone, but like there's a few things we're off on?
Yeah.
This is a thing where it's like I split left and you split right.
Okay. All right.
I think that it's a cool amp.
Yeah.
But I don't want it. You know what I'm saying? I think it's really cool. I think it's awesome for a lot of players. It just doesn't fit me for my personal style. If I was looking for this type of thing, if I was you, I'd be hot on this thing.
Yeah, like it's making me think, do I need my Vox AC15 head and cab, or do I just get this?
There you go. Or do you go get a matchless, one of those SC minis? Man, that's a whole nother subject.
I know, but
let's not even get into that. But yeah, I think if I was in your shoes, I'd be looking at this really hard, and I would definitely go play one.
Yeah, it's a guess for me. Like I wanna check it out. I don't think I'll use the second channel at all. I think I'll just be in the first channel.
It would be a very specific gig.
I mean, it's pretty high gain, that second channel.
Yeah, I don't know how much it tames back, because that's the thing with these high gain amps like that and high gain channels. Like everybody starts running them at like 1, 2 o'clock on the gain a lot of times. Sometimes they don't, but usually they do. And listening to demos is hard. We all know. Demos suck. But when you listen to a demo, like a lot of times they run that gain high on those high gain channels. You never know exactly. Sometimes if you get it at 9 o'clock, maybe it is going to give you a more vintage sound. It would be better.
Yeah, it's weird because some amps, especially with the master, it almost, when you turn the gain down, it sounds like you're neutering the amp.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Again, I don't think I'd use that second channel really.
Right.
It'd be all about the first channel, maybe a little boosted with that extra gain on tap. But I think this is so cool. It's a gas for me.
Yeah. Okay. And it's a pass for me, but I can understand why for a lot of people it would be a gas.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move to my gas or pass.
Okay.
So my gas or pass today is talking about the Mythos Argo Deluxe Boost.
That's a long name.
Yeah, it's a long name.
That's a mouthful.
It's the Argo that pedal show has put out in conjunction with Mythos.
Argo?
Argo?
No, you know what I'm talking about? From National Lampoon's Vacation or whatever. Margot.
Margot?
You don't know about Margot?
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot.
So, yeah, they put this in conjunction with that pedal show. They released it. Mick has been working on this really hard, I think, for a long time. I think we even hinted towards it like a year ago because we had heard some rumblings about it. So it's got 2 separate switches, one for the boost, one for the Argo fuzz. Because Mick likes to run that boost section, and then he's reaching down to turn up the fuzz and all that type of stuff. What's your thoughts on this thing? It's not a huge format, but big enough to get 2 switches on. It's pretty nice. I don't remember if you liked the Argo or not originally right out the gate.
I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, the Argo's that octave fuzz.
Yeah.
Man, I think it sounds incredible.
I think so. Man, I've played with octave fuzzes before. Like I had the Visual Sound Angry Fuzz.
Yeah.
And man, that thing was so cool for what it was.
Great.
That is. Anyways, we're gonna get to that part here in a bit.
Okay.
Anyways, I don't think I have a need for it, like an octave fuzz. Like, is it cool? Yeah. Is it something I'd use like once every once?
You can turn the octave off.
Once every once? That doesn't make sense.
Every once in a while.
Is
it something I would use every once in a while?
Goodness. Language. All right. Yeah. I don't think I'd use it that much.
What? Yeah, but what about just the fuzz with the octave off? And then you got a boost too.
Yeah. I'm not saying like I'm totally against it. I just think there's some feature sets that, do I really need it? No.
I think he's wrong, folks. I think he's very, very wrong. This thing seems amazing. I'm not even that big of a fuzz guy, and I love the sound of this Argo.
Yeah.
On demos, we all know about that. But from what it seems like, it sounds amazing. I love the extra functionality of having this boost with it.
Mm-hmm. I do like that.
I think it's killer. I'm gassing hard for this, to be honest.
Really?
And I'm not a fuzz guy, and I'm gassing hard for it. So, do you want to go ahead and move into your main topic?
All right, you talked about things you regret buying, and I'm going to talk about things kind of have to do with selling.
Okay.
When should you sell something so you don't have to regret selling it? Right? When is a good time for you to sell a piece of gear so that way later down the road you're not like, oh, I should have held on to this.
You know what? I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I know. So this is an infomercial for you.
Okay.
All right. So when should you sell something? I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
I just sold my very first guitar.
What?
I sold my Epiphone Les Paul.
Oh.
It was my very first guitar.
Yeah, it's been sitting in a case
Here,
forever.
I'll show you a picture here. All right. But it was sitting in a case forever. Never played the thing. It was actually a really good playing guitar.
It was.
For an Epiphone.
For the money.
For the money. It was great. And for the time that I had it. And
your first guitar.
First guitar. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
I loved it.
You going to regret that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I feel pretty good. We're a little bit down the path of like I've sold it and it's been some time for me to set my feelings and everything. It's weird because I've always had it. It's kind of like I feel like Linus and that's my security blanket.
Yeah.
But it always was in the closet anyways. I never carried it around with me all the time to gigs.
Right.
So I never played it. I couldn't justify having it. I got a Gibson SG that I play a lot more often.
Now you got a bunch of guitars you play all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just couldn't justify having it around. And I was like, well, if I offload this, I can buy something else. So I sold it.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it one bit.
Which
Which is weird.
Yeah.
Because I also want to sell, I'm looking to buy, I'm looking to sell one of my first tube amps.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous about this one.
Yeah.
Reason being is, almost all the amps I have right now, I'm going to have pedals for.
Yep.
But this amp, I can literally plug and go. It's a Bogner Alchemist.
Yep.
It's a great amp. I'm about to sell it. Not that I'm selling it to you all, but it's a plug and go. It's got delay reverb. It has been able to play a gig with nothing else but me plugged straight in. And I do love the amp, but I'm not really inspired by it.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous to sell it. When should I sell a piece of gear? I don't feel bad about selling that Les Paul because I wasn't using it at all.
Yeah. When's the last time you took that Alchemist to a gig?
Last year, and then I realized I didn't need to play it.
Yep.
Like, I got to the gig and I was like, it's a little overkill
Yep.
for what I got going on.
Yeah. That tells you a lot. It's been a year of gigging and you haven't used it once.
But I keep going back to, I've used it a lot in the past.
Yeah.
And
you recently bought a Princeton.
yeah.
You've got all your other amps you got going on, your Vox, and you've got your, Tweed, and you've got all these other amps, Basemans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what hole that it's going to fill that one of your other amps can't.
But if I ever go into a band that they're playing Carlos Santana, that is the amp.
No.
If I'm ever going into
Boogie would be.
a Rascal Flatts
Nope.
cover band.
Nope.
But if I ever go into, I'm just saying, that thing fills a lot of gaps. 80s rock,
Yeah.
that would be kind of the amp I would take.
Nope. Doesn't need it.
But I don't play that stuff.
Get rid of it.
I'm holding on to it for right now, but I mean, I say that. It's up for potential sale.
Yeah.
But it's in my possession.
You've got it listed.
It's listed.
Here's what it comes down to, right? So I've sold a lot of guitars. We were just talking about how I've sold 8 guitars in the last few years. I don't regret selling any of them. Not one of them. I think I'm down to the point where I don't think I can sell any of the guitars I've got now, currently anyway, because they've either got sentimental value to me or I'm using them daily and I just love them. So I'm kind of in a good spot with that. I don't regret selling any of those. Were they tools I could use at the time? Yes. But I was not necessarily inspired when I played them. Got rid of them and got myself something that I was truly inspired with and not looking back a bit. Kind of like your Les Paul. Here's where I have a hard time. I can do that with guitars and amps pretty easy because I can tell like when they're going to move in and out. I have a hard time with pedals. So you can tell I end up with a lot of pedals, and this isn't all of them. This is just what's up here on the shelves now, but I have a hard time offloading pedals because I always think to myself, we all know like seasons of change causes me to switch my drive sections. Sometimes I want to try a different delay style. All these different pedals. I have a hard time with pedals. But recently I've thought about like, what if I offloaded a couple of these pedals I haven't used in a long time to pick up some of these like different odds and ends pedals that are maybe like the original version of some of these pedals I've got.
I think if it doesn't work in your current situation, but you are a fan or have been a fan of it, you should hold on to it.
So if you liked something in the past, you should always hold on to it.
If that opinion hasn't changed.
Okay. Okay.
But, like, if it's good at, like, an 80s rock thing, you don't play 80s rock right now, but it's got its thing and it's great at it, you should hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have something that you just are not inspired, you've either fell out of love with it, or you can't even, at this point, say it's good for this. You should probably let it go. And that's the thing with my amp right now. It's got good things for it. I don't know.
But if you've got something that covers that space and is really good at covering that space also, you probably don't need it, right? It's not inspiring to you, and you've got something that would cover that space.
Yeah.
That's where you're at with that amp.
I guess.
And it's hard to let go of because you do have things that would cover that space. Your Princeton with the right pedal, mic'd up, is going to do it. You know, your Tweed, your Bassman, your Vox. Like, you got so many things. When you had that Alchemist, it was your first tube amp you ever had. That was your amp. If I'm going to go play a gig, this is my amp.
Yeah.
Now you've got all these amps with all these different decisions to make.
Yeah.
You know, we're both in a good spot right now with that type of thing. But it also makes, like, offloading gear sometimes difficult because you start thinking, well, I kind of need to hold on to that because that's the basis for this type of thing.
Yeah, so I guess it comes down to this, guys. If you get rid of a piece of gear and you know you'll have a hole somewhere, you probably should hold on to it.
Unless you're replacing it with it.
Unless you're replacing it with something.
Yeah.
Because it's inevitable that you'll find a gig. Maybe you're playing smaller gigs and you're like, oh, I don't need this huge amp. And then you start playing bigger gigs and you're like, oh, just kidding, I needed that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where I come down. If you're not inspired at all and you feel like, you know, you got a hole and you got to figure out what you're going to place in that spot, just be wary of all those things. But there's going to be something that you regret selling.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to. Or like trading in. Like if you're trading up for a guitar and you got to get rid of a guitar you really like to get the guitar.
And you're not selling it for the money that you want out of it.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really hard.
That's what she said. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Good one.
But sometimes you got to do that to fall into a guitar that you absolutely love. Sometimes we do have to sell pieces of gear we like to get something we like more or something that fits the bill more. It's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
You know, but yeah, I'm kind of going through that process now with a few things. I think my amps and guitars are in a good spot, but I think my pedals is kind of where I'm at right now, where I'm like, should I offload a few things?
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult.
Yeah, I hope this topic makes sense. I've kind of been all over the board with it because it's something I'm not great at, but I've gotten better at.
Yeah. It's easier when you're letting something go that you're not using much to get a replacement for, basically, that you're very inspired by.
Right.
That is much easier. And I think probably comes down to, I mean, what is that, Marie Kondo or whatever? We talked about that before. Does it bring you joy? That's that inspiration thing. But she also talks about, you know, if you haven't used something in a year, that old rule of thumb, if you haven't used it in a year, you're probably not going to use it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that doesn't go for everything like big Marshalls and stuff like that, but maybe it does. I mean, if you don't use it in a year, are you going to use it the next year? Well, that's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
And, you know?
And how much is that sentimental value worth? That's what I had to decide with my Epiphone Les Paul.
Yeah.
I was like, how much is it worth? Is it worth keeping around and not getting something, you know, worth a crap? Or is it, and worth a crap's probably bad wording, but like, you know what I mean? It's just, how much is that sentimental value worth to you? And is it, you know, the make or break of whatever you get coming in? So, I don't know.
I think it's also, there's something like refreshing about a smaller number of items, but they're really good.
Yeah.
You know, I had a time where I had a large collection of guitars.
But not one of them was really good.
But they were all just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
And then I was able to offload those and start bringing in guitar pieces that I really liked. Same way with amps. I'd done the same thing, offloaded some amps and different things that I was able to get really nice pieces. I would rather have 2 or 3 really nice guitars and 1 or 2 nice amps than, 30 guitars personally.
Oh, 100%.
So that's just me. But yeah, it's hard to know when to sell something. But I think you probably know. In the back of your head, I think you probably know. You haven't used it in a year. You're looking to upgrade to something nicer that you really love. Or if you're looking to fill a spot that you need, filled.
Yeah. That's why I regret selling my Angry Fuzz from Visual Sound.
Yeah.
Because it did a thing. It was really cool, but I didn't use it at the time, so I sold it. And now I'm like, it'd be cool to have that back.
You need that Mythos Argo Deluxe.
Maybe
is what
not.
you need.
Maybe not. I'm good.
He needs it, folks. Write down below with you guys' thoughts. See you guys next week.
See ya.